The school cafeteria on Station Meridian was a chaotic symphony of clinking trays and overlapping voices. Marcus Chun sat alone at a corner table, watching the dynamics of interspecies adolescence play out before him. At 14, he was one of only 3 humans at the academy, a lonely distinction on a station where most species thrived in social hierarchies he didn't quite understand. That's when he noticed Kess. She was a Vextheri, a slender alien with iridescent skin that shifted through shades of violet and blue. Her species required liquid hydration every few hours, a biological necessity that made them targets in certain circles. Marcus had heard the whispers. Some of the older students from the Krell Collective had turned hydration into a game. Today, Kess sat with an empty cup, her skin already beginning to dull from dehydration. 3 Krell males surrounded her table, their muscular frames casting shadows across her face. Marcus couldn't hear the words, but he recognized the posture: predatory, amused, cruel. One of them, a massive specimen named Vor, held a water dispenser just out of Kess's reach. She reached for it desperately, her movements becoming sluggish. The other students laughed. Several species found this entertaining, a display of dominance and submission as old as any civilization. "Please," Kess's voice was barely audible. You need." Vor's laugh boomed across the cafeteria. "You need to beg better than that, little Vextheri." Marcus felt something twist inside his chest. He wasn't brave. He wasn't particularly strong. But he was human, a species that had spent millennia learning empathy, that had built entire philosophies around the sacredness of basic needs. Humans had survived their own world through cooperation, through sharing resources in desperate times. He stood up. Every eye in the cafeteria seemed to turn toward him as the human walked across the room. The Krell didn't see him as a threat. He was half their size. But they saw him as something novel, something to play with. "Move along, monkey," Vor said dismissively. "This doesn't concern you." Marcus didn't respond to the slur. He simply unscrewed the cap from his own water bottle, the one he'd been rationing carefully since breakfast. He held it out to Kess. The cafeteria went quiet. Kess stared at the bottle, her eyes widening. "I can't take your water. You'll dehydrate. Humans can go longer without water than your species," Marcus said simply. He pressed it into her hands. "Take it." She drank gratefully, her skin brightening as the hydration restored her. Around them, students exchanged confused glances. They didn't understand. In most competitive hierarchies, resources were hoarded, not shared. Strength was measured in what you could take, not what you could give. Vor's expression darkened. He stepped toward Marcus, his massive hand reaching out. "You think you're noble, little human? You think that makes you?" "I think," a calm voice interrupted, "that the human has just demonstrated something many of you have forgotten." Everyone turned. It was Instructor Zal, a sentient silicate who monitored the cafeteria. The crystalline being's facets glimmered with something that might have been approval. The human species survived their home world not through dominance hierarchies, Zal continued, but through an ability unique in their biological makeup, the capacity to extend compassion and resources to strangers. It's why they were invited to join the galactic community despite their relative weakness. It's why, in their short time in space, they've already earned respect among elder species. Zal's optical arrays focused on Vor. "Step away from the boy." Immediately, the Krell complied, though his jaw clenched with barely suppressed anger. As he stalked off, his friends following, Kess stood and faced Marcus. Her skin rippled with colors of gratitude and something else, perhaps wonder. "Why did you help me?" she asked. "We don't know." "Each other." Marcus shrugged, suddenly aware of the attention on him. "Because you needed help. That's reason enough." Over the following weeks, Marcus discovered that his simple act of kindness had ripple effects. Kess introduced him to other students who felt isolated by the collective's rigid hierarchies. A Virillian who was too small for his species. A young Drell whose hive mind mutation made her an outcast. They formed a small circle of the displaced. By year's end, the entire social structure of Station Meridian had shifted slightly. It wasn't revolution, but it was change. One human boy with a bottle of water had reminded an academy full of aliens that strength could mean something different. That sometimes the bravest thing a person could do was simply share.